Welcome everybody to the Fountaindale Public Library Genealogy Club for February. My name is Deborah Dudak. Tonight I'm going to be presenting a program on Internet Archive, the genealogical resource that you're not using. So with everybody who's following along on the webinar, hello. We're super happy to have you with us. So for the people in the room, what is Internet Archive? Ask yourself that question. Show of hands, who has used archive.org before? Hands raised. 2 people, 3 people. Then I guess this was the best class to have for a night that Tina Baird could not show up. Perfect. So Internet Archive is a free website that rounds up materials from all over the world for books, moving images, software, archive websites. They have copyright and non-copyrighted items or out-of-copyright items that are available for you to download or to borrow. So if it is an in-copyright item, you will be able to borrow it. You'll just be able to, it's sort of like an online library. So you will be able to use it. You might have to join a wait list. Apart from that, a wide variety of items are available as free downloads, and they're free not just for your computer, but for your laptop, for your Amazon Kindle, for your iPad, Samsung tablet, whatever you kids are using these days, for mobile genealogy research. And I like to bring it up because the number one question I get with archive.org is, why is it good for genealogists? And I know I have city directories on here twice. But I did want to put out they do have city directories as far as some of the things that you would see for major cities like Chicago or some from New York. But they have city directories for smaller communities that may not be online. So things like Toledo, they have a large area of Toledo. They have Champaign-Urbana is on there. So city directories are not the way that you think a metropolitan area. They have rural directories, which were very popular from about 1900 through the 1920s. So there's a selection of those. Gazetteers. Has anybody worked with gazetteers? A couple people. So gazetteers give you information on an area or an information on a location. So it will tell you who are the important municipal bodies, who are the people who are currently in roles of governmental power, but also descriptions of the land, the history of the area, the notable landmarks. All of that can come into play when you're doing your genealogical research, because you do want to know when the county fair is held on certain days, and that's going to kind of help you with your research. You also want to know that the land is slightly hilly and we're used to prone to sunny weather, whatever it is. High school yearbooks tend to be the big thing that I've seen being added to the site. So high school yearbooks from a lot of time periods. A lot of them are from about 1900 through like the 1960s, 1970s, but they also have college yearbooks as well. And those college yearbooks sometimes go back to the 1880s, 1890s, but they also have what would be directories of college directories as well. So if you were a young person who was going to college, they would tell what hall that person lived in. So it's kind of interesting to see what they're coming out with that. The who's who and the biography titles, so that vanity press that your ancestor would send away for, that this is all about my family and my esteemed heritage, and I'm allowed to kind of lie, sometimes a little or sometimes a lot. Published family genealogies. These are great. You used to have to go to Allen County Public Library in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and make a pilgrimage there, which I still advocate people should do because it's an amazing resource. But they're starting to make, Allen County Public Library is starting to make those published family genealogies available for you to use for free online through Internet Archive. So it's some of the things that you can kind of supplement your research doing at home before you make that trip to Fort Wayne. Some very area-specific vital statistics. So they're not going to give you a lot of state vital statistics, but they do have some things on a state level like indexes. Most notably, the Reclaim the Records project, which is making the New York State and New York City and New Jersey vital records indexes available online for free. They are searchable, or some of them are searchable on Ancestry, but it was Reclaim the Records that filed lawsuits, did everything they could to make those available to you for free online through archive.org. And also they have applications for tribal membership. So anybody who is researching First Peoples, that's an interesting place for you to go and get that material for free. So let's take a look at the site itself. Now, I'm a big visual learner. I like to look at things. And I also like to make sure that you guys can see them as well. Can everybody see the screen up here by chance? Okay, fantastic. So what I've got here is that at the top, they have a sign-in area, a login registration area, followed by a search box. And then they have media types. So if you're looking specifically for books, film, audio recordings, software, or images, they have shortcut keys here and they have shortcut keys here. They also have a big dummy search box in the center, and then they have some top collections in the archive. So all of this is in your handout. I'm a firm believer in making sure you guys have this and can use it comprehensively, because this site is absolutely amazing. However, it deals in a lot of absolutes, and at times it can feel a lot like Grandma's attic, where you go up into Grandma's attic and it's not well organized, or it doesn't seem well organized. It makes sense to the people who are filling in the metadata. It makes sense to the people who are cataloging things digitally, but to an average user, this site can feel really cumbersome, and this site can feel like I'm not really sure that this is taking me to the places that I need to find it, because it's not terribly intuitive. So I'm going to show you how we're going to go through this, some strategies to narrow down your searches, and how to use this site confidently, because you do not want to miss out on it. I love going up into Grandma's attic and finding an unwrapped birthday present from 1972. I love those moments. My grandma had a couple of those for my brother's first birthday. I found them up in her attic one day when I was like 9 years old, and that's great. But I want you guys to be able to come out of there with the armful of items that you really, really want. So taking a look at this, please register for a free account. It takes you maybe 5 minutes to register for one, but this is where the power of this site is really going to come in handy. There's an area with my libraries, my loans, my favorites. Those are the 3 items I want you to really, really focus on, because while you're going through Grandma's attic, it's important to have a little shoebox of place, a little storage place that you can put the items that you feel are important. So by adding an item to my library, to my loans, the loans are going to be for the items that are out of copyright. The my favorites are items that I might be adding to a list. So my favorite items are going to be, it's the New York Vital Records Index from 1919, because I had a slew of ancestors who died in the influenza epidemic. So that's going to be one of my favorite items to go back to. And if you favorite it, or you add it to my library, if you add it to my favorites, then you're going to be able to get back to it quicker, and you're never going to lose it. So add things to my favorites. Don't be afraid to use that. And then, of course, you have this nice little logout area. The My Library is for stuff that you can personally upload as well. So if you have a handwritten genealogy that your great aunt gave you, and you're wondering, how do I share this? How do I put this out in the world where other people can use it? The My Library area is great for that. Another one is the My Library area is fantastic for a small group or an organization that may be using something that's very unique. Remember, RootsWeb kind of took a nosedive and was out of commission for some time, but Internet Archive has not had an interruption in service. So if you're looking at a space to share your items or to store your items, you have that in the My Library area, and that's a really great place to explore and to use. So I'm taking you just simply to the genealogy area of this site, and this is in your handout. So when you guys are on, I'll go back here to this search screen here. If you type in genealogy, it'll bring up a bunch of tiles, and we'll get back to that into the rest of the presentation. But typing in genealogy, it will take you to a genealogy collection that has over 138,000 items. And that's where you can start working from. The point of this site is not to use the dummy search box. I want you guys to look just for genealogy stuff. And even if they have genealogy up here, it's not a guarantee that it's an actual people genealogy resource. I've seen things in here about the genealogy of fruit trees. I love fruit trees, they're great. I didn't know there was a genealogy of pollinating fruit trees, but there is. It's the things that you learn. But it had genealogy in the key phrase, and so that's what shows up. But this is the genealogy area. oh, I'm sorry, it was 141,000 as of when I took the screenshot about a month ago. And it tells you, it has the popularity by views, and you'll see there's 58,000 views for one item, 70,000 views for another, and it kind of goes from there. But this landing page, when you get a chance, you bookmark this landing page so you always have that page to work with. You're not going to be searching the whole site. You're just going to be searching the genealogy area. Now, looking for a title is important. This site deals in absolutes. It doesn't give you sort of a ranked searching the way that Google Books will give you. And the one thing I like to say is that Google Books is great. You can go in there and type in Scottish poetry, and it'll give you a list of items that are Scottish poetry. But if you're looking for something very, very precise, the spelling has to be correct, and adding extra information, especially in an older book that'll say, juvenile poems for young boys and girls between the ages of this and this and this. You can copy and paste that and put that in Google Books, and that book will come up. You could copy and paste that in Internet Archive, and it might only have juvenile poems. It might not have all of the rest of that stuff that's in that title. So that can be very, very distracting. Another thing about Google Books is that they were slapped with a lot of copyright issues. And so what we're finding is that I use Google Books for a searching to see what edition. And if the book is not available, then I'll go to Internet Archive and see if the book is available in a digital format. My third great uncle, Joseph Grant, wrote a book called, he wrote 3 books. One of them is called Concordantshire Traditions. And I was able to get his first, he wrote them in the early 1820s in Scotland. And he was able to, I found the first 2, no problem, Google Books, no big deal. But the third book, Concordantshire Traditions, I could not get in a digital format on Google Books. So I went to Internet Archive. Concordantshire is not a word most of us learn to spell, correct? No. And you don't even know where Concordantshire is, right? It's cool. I don't expect you to. It's all right. So I punched this name in the, here's my Google Books. I punched the name in the search mechanism for Internet Archive, and bam, there's one copy of the book by Joseph Grant, and gives the information that when it was uploaded. What I love about this book, and what I love about Internet Archive in general, is that once you get the book that you want, there's multiple ways that you can play with it. So looking inside the book, it's the actual book. I'm not looking at, sometimes you might find a facsimile of something, especially if it's a family genealogy that a collection or a genealogical society had. So it might be a facsimile, it might be the real thing. In the instance of Concordantshire Traditions, it was the, I believe it's the University of California, they had an actual copy. And because I was able to scroll page by page by page, Joseph Grant had actually signed it. So my uncle had signed it. And so that's the only item I've ever found of his signature is from this book that's at the University of California. And when I went there and asked to see it, they said to me, no, I couldn't see it. I needed to make an appointment 3 months in advance and bring certain letters of introduction because they wouldn't let me see it. I said, but my uncle wrote it, and nobody believed me. So it's cool. Like I have photos of me by the headstone. I promise it's him. I have a whole record sheet. No, they don't care. So bless their hearts. But anyway, so what you've got here is that this is just a preview. This preview allows you to still kind of thumb through the pages to see if it's the book that you're looking for. You have an option to expand the book to make it the full size of your screen. So if you have some vision issues, you have the ability to make it a full screen and then scroll in or out to make the print larger or smaller. They also have something called Search Inside This Book. You will need to expand the book to be able to see it, to use the search options in it, and to see the search results. Not every item in here is searchable. Not every book on this website is searchable, but there's a growing collection of them that are. Down here at the bottom, they give you the title information. They tell you when the book was published. They tell you who published it, the language, the call number, who digitized the book, and then they have the downloads option here. So there is your EPUB for the people who have a Samsung tablet or are using another PDF reader like Bluefire or an EPUB reader like Bluefire. They have just a straight full text. So if you just wanted a text file of it, you can get it. They have a Kindle format for the people who have a Kindle or prefer to read on a Kindle. And then they have a PDF for the people who are maybe using a home computer and just want to use Acrobat. You don't need any additional software. So for those things, all of those are available for free for you to download and keep in perpetuity if that's what you want them. Read it. In one of the reviews that I found of this book and of my uncle, he said that he is a renowned Scottish poet and from his youth, and he is second only to Robert Burns. And I was like, yeah, this is dope. There we go. So not everybody's going to know that. Navigating it, once we have the book and it's at its full expand length, we have the ability to move backward, to move forward. If we were searching inside a book, so if we were looking for a specific person or specific term, it would highlight at the bottom where we can click on that book. I have some examples of it further on. I also have this area down here. We can look at it as a single pane, so a single page at a time. We can look at it as 2 pages at a time, as a gallery view of pages. Then I also have a plus and a minus, so we can make the font bigger or smaller. Up here at the top, again, we can search inside. And up here also is an area that's text to talk. This is one of those ways to accommodate people who may be vision impaired, or if you need a little extra help reading, like my sister who prefers to read with her ears and follow with her eyes. That's super helpful. I'm going to let you know, Morgan Freeman does not narrate these books, okay? I know you had your heart set on it. That'd be dope if he could do it, but it's more of a mechanical sounding, robotic voice, but it has improved over time. It cannot read Ald Scots. They massacre it every time. So if you are using a book that maybe the language is a little older, a little archaic, or it's in another language, it may or may not sound the way that it needs to. But that is an option for people who do need it. Okay? So here's that website we were talking about before. That's in your handout. So archive.org, details, genealogy. So when we get to this, we're going to dissect this page so it's less confusing for you. Because every time you hit this Internet Archive genealogy page, it's going to look the same every time, okay? So when we get here to the site, notice up here at the top, we have the share, favorite, and play all. So that's part of that reason that you can share a resource on those newfangled things like Facebook and Twitter, whatever you kids are using these days. You can favorite it. Oh, and they can also share on Pinterest, which is nice. I'm a big Pinterest person. I have a whole nother presentation. If someone can't make it to the next genealogy club meeting, you guys are going to get Pinterest for genealogy, okay? I got 8. I always have spare presentations just in case somebody can't make a presentation, and we'll do Pinterest for genealogy next time. So anyway, and then I have a favorite, so that's where we're going to add to our favorites list, and then play all if you have a playlist. So here it automatically defaults to items that are by views. So these are the most items that are the most viewed items. You can also look for items by release date or archived date, which are under a drop-down box. You can look under title. You can look under date published. So if you were looking for a specific book that was printed in a specific year, you can do that. And also the creator. So if I just want to look at items from Allen County Public Library, I just want to see what they have. I don't care about anybody else. I don't care about University of Toronto. I don't care about University of South Carolina, like whatever, we're going to do it. Over here on the side, right now it's in a tile view. This tile view has gotten a lot more popular. Does anybody have Netflix or Amazon Prime or something? Everything is in that pretty sort of tile view. Well, that drives me crazy when I'm looking at materials because I don't need to know what the tile looks like. I need to look at the guts of the information to know that this is the book that I need. So if you do not like it, all you have to do is click over here to the list view and it will give you everything in a list. I prefer that. That's just me. That's what you do you, boo. You do you. So over here on the side, if I want to search inside the genealogy collection, this is where I'm going to search. So if I want to look for a family history, or I want to look for the Smith family genealogy, or I just want to look at family genealogies, or I want to look at DuPage Township, or whatever it is, I can search inside of that, and it's going to limit the search to everything that is in the genealogy collection. I'm not searching anywhere else. Down here at the side are items by year. So these are items by year as far as when they were published. I like to use these when I'm looking for something within a specific time period, which it makes sense. But if I'm looking for something that's just World War I stuff, so I want all the World War I stuff. So when are my search years going to be? They're going to be 1916, 17, 18, 19, 20, maybe through 1924, because they might have some books that are published about the veterans or when everybody came home or when the American Legion Post, you know, was established. So I've kind of can put it down to just that time period, and I love it because it gives me so many options to look for stuff that's just from that time period if I want to. Now, here's that list view to give you an item of what that list view looks like. So instead of those individual tiles, you just get a straight list view. I really find this a lot more helpful because I get to see who the author is if I'm looking for a specific author, so if this was a resource that I needed or a specific year that something was published. So if I see a source citation in my research that says it's the Virginia County Records, I can, and they cite the citation is saying it's 1905 and then here's the author, then I know I've got the right one. Fair enough. That's why citing your sources is very important because you can come back and compare it to what you can get on Internet Archive. So here's searching inside an area. Now this is a resource that's the New York City list of registered voters in 1924. This is important. I love this. Why is this an important type of resource? Anybody? Any ideas? There's no stupid answers, just reasonable guesses. You guys are... It's all laid out for me. Yes, absolutely. But why is having a New York resource online that's free very important? Well, that's a good one. Yeah, absolutely, because there's a lot of people coming into New York. It's because New York research is a hot mess. Anybody who does research in New York, anybody with New York ancestors that you research, no, are any of your vital records online? No. Are any of your births, marriages, or deaths available online? No. Having other resources that you can use to pinpoint a person online for free without having to write a town clerk or a city clerk or a county clerk or a state resource is very important. When I started going through this with the Reclaim the Records record set that they put out for the vital records indexes of births, marriages, and deaths in New York State, my ancestors aren't in New York City. They're like in Buffalo, which is like the difference between saying that my ancestors are in Chicago or they're down in like Champaign-Urbana. It's a wide geography. There's a lot of difference. They're just not in the same place. When we were going through this, I had to go in person to see the microfiche of the vital records indexes. There are only 3 libraries at the time that had them. You had to go in person, give them your photo ID, then they would let you look at it on a microfilm reader, which is fine. But the years that I needed, so like 1943, 1944, the fiche were so bad, nobody could read it. I could see her name was on there, and I could see that the county or location, but the certificate number was illegible. I have sent away for that record 3 times, and one from the state, one from the city, and another time from the Vital Records Office for a death that happened in 1943, and they've never been able to give it to me because the fiche is so bad, nobody can read it. Kills me. New York, I have some very unkind words to say, but I won't say them here because we're all friends and we want to be nice to people. We can just encourage New York State to do more, like go back through all of their fiche from the early 1940s, or to just go through all their vital records, and instead of doing an index, why don't you actually do an actual index? Oh, did I tell you they lost about 20 or 30 years of their own vital records indexes? Yeah, good times. New York taxpayer money at work, so as it says. So let's take a look. So this is a direct link to family genealogies. So this will take you to the over 13,000 family genealogies that are available on the site. I love each and every one of you so much, and I love everybody online so much that I made you a shortcut link because I don't like to search through stuff. I just want to give you things that you guys can get to right away. So these are just 2 examples. Anybody with Mayflower ancestors? we're coming up on what, the 400, right? Where it's 400 years since the Mayflower showed up. So 1621, 22, 1622, 1622. So we're coming up on 400. So we have a slew of people, at least from here at the library. I've gotten a lot of calls from people asking if I can help them with their research to join the Mayflower Society before the big anniversary date. That's kind of become like the big deal, is that people want to be members before this big anniversary. So I found two resources that I've been using quite a bit lately, the Bigelow family and then the Brewster family. So I've been finding a lot of these published genealogies to kind of help people out, and they've been all for free on Internet Archive, which has been fabulous. So if that's something that you're interested in doing, Kimberly Nagy, who's with the Isla Cache DAR, and she does a lot of really wonderful work with a lot of different lineage societies. If you need some help with that, I know that she can help you, and she's really, really wonderful and a fantastic speaker on top of that. So if you're interested in that, we have some resources for you to use. But look at some of the stuff in those family genealogies on Internet Archive. So looking at these family genealogies, I've searched, this is my search box. This is where I put family genealogies. These are my list views. So these are by views, popular by views. Remember, you can click on views. It will take you to date archive or date reviewed. Click on date archived. It will give you all the brand new stuff. Click on date reviewed. It will be the last time that somebody either wrote a review or a staff member might have amended the record, I think was the way that it was explained to me by email. And then you can search alphabetically by title. So you can search A to Z or Z to A. But there are numbers. If there are numbers involved, remember the numbers are going to come before A. So if they have 0 ancestors or the 10,000 ancestors of William Brewster, 10,000 is going to come before A's. All right. Then the date published and the creator. And remember, if you don't like this tile view, you can click on the list view. So in this instance, in these family genealogies, the quotations came before the numbers, came before the A's. Seeing it like this really changes it, because you guys see how it's quotations, and then it gets down to A, history of the Woodgates of Stonewall, or the Achilles family from New Hampshire, or history of the Lancaster family. Yeah, it's all of these little things will change your search, and that impacts the way that you search. So if you had boots and saddles, you'd find it, but sometimes having the quotations of boots and saddles, you may or may not find it depending on your search results. That's a little frustrating, but it's just for you guys to see it. So these are my genealogical gems on Internet Archive. So the ones that I tend to send people to the most. So the collection of plat maps, there's a lot of them. Anybody with Iowa ancestors? Yeah, a couple. Really great collection of Iowa plat maps. Also some from Ohio, which are very, very nice. The city directories, which are commercial and residential. So that's really, really important. The rural directories for Ohio, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Illinois are fabulous. Though a lot of those are going to date from about 1908 to about 1920. The printed and handwritten family genealogies, of course, those New York City and New York State birth, marriage, and death indexes from Reclaim the Records. The Bureau of Refugees, Freedmen, and Abandoned Lands. Now that was taking place right after the Civil War. The index to compiled service records of volunteer soldiers. This goes hand in hand with those really, really lovely free War of 1812 pensions that we've fundraised like crazy to save at the National Archives. That's still only 75% of them are online. I ended up going to DC because I have an ancestor with the last name of Vandiver. That, you know, like, I have no choice. I've been waiting for those pensions to go up for like 5 years, and finally, like, Tina and I were like, Tina's like, let's go to DC to do World War I research. I'm like, that's fine, but I got to go to the National Archives because I'm tired of waiting for my War of 1812 pension record that we paid for like 4 years ago, and they're still not done. They're still not up. So, but it's nice to have the index, and the index is on there just so you make sure you're not crazy. The Veterans Administration pension payment collection, which is beautiful. The vital records by county or genealogy quarterlies. Remember that most of our research in a pre-internet world, A lot of this, with the lifeline, were local genealogy societies and local historical societies or local groups and organizations that put out newsletters. For the Scottish group that I belong to, that's Kincardineshire at Aberdeen, we still communicate by newsletter. They don't have, they do some other stuff, but most of the things that are in there, like I'm looking for anybody from who's researching the Harris family, or here's an article about my 5 generations of the Harris family. Those quarterlies just don't die. Having them available so people can read them 10, 20, 30, 40 years later, because what do? They cite their sources. And they also provide original information or original photographs. So when people were doing this back in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s, they're starting to digitize these and put them online. So it's well worth your while to go through these quarterlies or these county quarterlies or the county newsletters that are for genealogy societies and go through them and see if they have anything on your ancestor. Because maybe you're the family keeper right now. Maybe you're the person whose job it is to keep the book. But it doesn't always go in a straight line, does it? Who did it before you? My great aunt, my grandmother's sister. So it didn't go to her daughter, even though her daughters and her kids are really active. They really love genealogy. But it's been my job to do all of the back work. And working with them, though, has been really fantastic. So we kind of have a nice collaborative group now. But you were that person who got it from that one person that everybody thought was crazy. They were crazy, right? They're that person who shows up at the reunion and all they do is talk family history. I've learned you just say one thing. When people ask you how your research is going, you say one word, great. That's it. You don't say anything else. That's it. You want to be popular at the family reunion? Just give them a one word, great. Just be really excited when you say great. Great. How's your car doing? Doing great? How are the kids? How are they doing in school? Millie got a D in algebra. I have a secret file on all the things I hear at the family reunions. Man, it's great. You got to be a spy when you do those things now. You can't lay it all out. That amount of crazy, you can't do that anymore because people look out for you and they don't want to sit with you and they don't want to talk to you. But they'll spill your guts if they ask you like, oh, you know what? That looks like Grandma so-and-so's ring. Where'd you get that from? Oh, that's not the ring she gave me. That went to Cousin Bertha, blah, 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 blah. And they'll just spill their guts. I try to stir up a little controversy, just trying to make sure I get some information. That's how you got to do it. Anyway. So you guys don't believe me, man. This has worked really, really well. Maybe it's because I got the book so young, I've just learned to adapt. I've had 20 years to adapt. Where sometimes if you get it in different times of your life, you could just get really excited. You want to share with people. I learned you got to let that go. Nobody loves it as much as you do, man. Nobody. So as it sits. So going back to my presentation, as you guys have your quick chuckle at my expense. Oaths of allegiance and naturalization indexes, they do have them, and there's a nice collection of them for Pennsylvania. Why is that important, Pennsylvania people? What is Pennsylvania like? Pennsylvania's like New York. Their records are a hot mess. They're a fantastic place to go get information, but it's difficult at times to get it, and the information's not online. So Pennsylvania has beautiful, beautiful oaths of allegiance, especially in the colonial period. And also into the new, what we would consider the new country, so our new early federal period in the United States. World War I county honor books, which you guys have heard me on my soapbox about those. They're amazing. They're also starting to add some World War II stuff, which has been really nice. So let's take a look at those. Let's take a look at those plat maps. Beautiful, beautiful plat maps. I just went into the genealogy area and typed in plat map. Amazingly, this is what I get. So anybody from Story County, Iowa? No? Well, then if you were, that would have been dope because I just gave you Christmas early. They have them, they have beautiful ones and they have ones that go into the 1960s. Yeah, I know. Wow. Everybody at home? Wow. Wow. 1977. Love that one. You know, my grandparents didn't buy their farm until 1952. And I've had to use things like Historic MapWorks and a couple other databases to find them. And it's been really great because they actually put both my grandparents' names on that first couple of plat maps from like the early 50s. And then after that, it just became my grandpa's name. I was like, Grandma was working pretty hard, dude. Like, her name deserves to be on there too. But as it sits, but this is the free option. So if you don't have access to historical MapWorks, this could be your free option. And they have, sometimes you're at the mercy of whatever Historic MapWorks has access to. If you've got a local genealogical society or a family history library or a college or university library that's putting these online, they're doing it for you for free, and they're pulling everything off the shelf, man. They're like, here you go, 1963 plat map, 1977 plat map. So anybody who came into Story County and bought land, what if your ancestors didn't live there in 1902? Maybe they didn't even come out there till the 50s. You know, maybe they after the war, they did their GI Bill or whatever, and they moved out to Iowa to be closer to friends and became farmers. Yeah, it's great. How about the rural directories? These I love. So if you're from Michigan, like me, they never have my stuff. They never have my stuff, and that's okay. But they have a ton of them, and these are all those rural directories that we talked about. So a ton of them for Michigan, a ton of them for Ohio, a ton of them for Wisconsin, a ton from Illinois. I just typed in rural directory, and these are the ones that came up because they're the most viewed. Michigan really, we're in a really good place emotionally. We started to keep mandatory birth, marriage, and death records starting in 1867. I think the only state that kind of really went for the gold on that matter was Massachusetts, and they started keeping vital records in 1844. So I'm just saying, Michigan's still a pretty dope place to be from. How about Quaker Records? Ooh, and I don't mean the guy with the oatmeal, no. I'm talking about just Quaker Records. Looking for things under a subject is just as important as looking for something in a location. So it could be that we're going to look for items in Eaton County, Michigan, or we're going to look for items in Cook County, or we're going to see what kind of areas are in Cook County. But why not just look under a topic? Quaker Records. There's tons of them. Why do I love Quaker Records? Because Quakers could read and write. And they kept a lot of those books that a lot of them are starting to go on Ancestry, but this is the stuff that you can't get off Ancestry. And some of them are very, very locational. Like this is the Delaware Quaker Records of Duck Creek Monthly. Like I've never been to Duck Creek, but now I'm intrigued. I wish I had ancestors from Delaware because that would have been kind of dope. But this is a guide to researching Quaker records at a very specific location. They actually had a book that you can check out that was like how to research Quaker records, and it was not a downloadable book that anybody could kind of keep and use. It was a book that was still in copyright, but you could borrow it online and read it. Tip top, fantastic. And it's under the same stuff as all of these other records, like with all the other Quaker records. Beautiful. About city directories. So I love city directories. Here's some for Boston, Massachusetts. And they just kind of throw them all up there. So again, this is popular by views. Michigan City, Christine's not here tonight, so she normally, her family is from LaPorte and from Michigan City, so that's always nice. Indianapolis. When was the last time that people thought about Indianapolis county directories? You know, Columbus. So really, really good stuff. The other thing too is if you have New York ancestors, New York, I think it's the New York Public Library has city directories and city phone books that go back, I believe, to 1795. And they're all available for free online through the New York City Public Library. And they digitized those, and they spent big money on them. And one of the first things I had to do was to go on there and find Alexander Hamilton in every single city directory. Because, I mean, it was kind of dope. I'm like, I don't really have anybody from New York City, but I'll know where Alexander Hamilton is. Found him. It was cool. All right, then those World War I honor books, which you guys have heard my tap dance. Maybe some of our friends online have heard my tap dance about World War I records. But these are fantastic because we just had the centennial. Did anybody go see the new Peter Jackson film, They Shall Not Grow Old? Everybody needs to go. You need to go. It's not at the movie theater the way that it's playing like 3 times a day or something, but it's through a Fathom event at some of your local theaters. Go see it in 3D. Stay for the little documentary that he does the 30 minutes afterwards. This film will blow your mind. It's called They Shall Not Grow Old. He went to the, I don't think he physically went, but he emailed the Imperial War Museum in London and said, and he loves World War I stuff. I didn't know this. Does anybody know, that J.R.R. Tolkien, who would write Lord of the Rings, he was in the First World War. So Tolkien was very influenced by the dramatic scenes and the carnage of the First World War, and he used that as an inspiration to write Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, right? So, and there's another movie just called Tolkien, which comes out May 10th, which looks amazing too, and it kind of follows that influence of how he kind of shaped his narrative. But anyway, so Peter Jackson had, I think, a couple relatives who served in the First World War. And so he, because he's got all that sweet, sweet Lord of the Rings money, he owns the largest collection of World War I airplanes in the world or something. And he owns uniforms, he owns artillery. Like, this dude just owns it, like you do. I guess you just get big and you just buy uniforms. Like, I think it's dope. But he owns all this stuff. So anyway, he emailed the Imperial War Museum, like you do, and said, could you send me some World War I footage? I want to see if I can restore it and work on this film project. And it goes into the long and short of it. He and his team took the footage, which looks kind of jerky and might have been scratched up and not really well used. He was able to add more frames into the set. They colorized it, restored it. They took original interviews that the BBC did with World War I veterans in the 60s and 70s and overlaid it. So these guys are just telling their narratives. And then his film crew reworked the footage. They added not a whole lot of soundtrack, but they had lip readers come in, and they could actually say what the people were saying in the film. And then they had voice actors who relayed that. And then they did this amazing work. It is phenomenal. And at the end of during his little documentary, he said, I just want you guys to know that, you know, if you love this film, go out and find out your ancestry about World War I and find the people who were in World War I. And I'm like, I love you, Peter Jackson. I mailed him a copy of my book. He may never read it, but it's cool. Like, I just love you so much. This is amazing. But part of that way to trace your ancestry is using these World War I honor books. So please go watch They Shall Not Grow Old. Go see it. Stay for the little documentary that he does. It will be one of the best films you see this year, hands down. And I think they had another couple viewings this month. They're probably going to have a couple more in March. But Fathom Events hosts it. You guys will not be disappointed. And if you can't watch it in the theater, get it on DVD because it's magical. All right, anyway. So these are the list of recent reads that I've been reading. So my personal favorite are the list of registered voters from New York City. Sorry, I've had a couple of things to research. The other one, the Illinois State Genealogical Society journals are available online. My personal favorite, which is the list of fugitives from justice for 1900. This was something that was put out by the U.S. Marshal's Office. So, or the Texas Rangers, like Chuck Norris, right? The Texas Rangers, they would publish a list of fugitives from justice every year. It would have identifying marks, known aliases, what crimes people were wanted for. I've never found anything more than the 1900 version, but I want more of them. I want so many of them because it's men and women. A lot of horse theft. Just spoiler, a lot of horse theft. But also women who were involved with things like, not so much about prostitution, doesn't seem to be the thing that they're persecuting or arresting people for, but they want things for things like fraud, bad check writing, or another one was being a lookout on a crime. Another one was theft. There's always some sort of theft, but it was theft over a certain amount. So they're not getting people for petty crime. They're trying to get people for crimes that are over a certain amount of money, but they're fabulous to read. And then, of course, those World War I books, which I love. Now, another thing to keep in mind is that the Wayback Machine also has, on the website, is a great place to look at old websites which may have gone defunct. Remember when Roots Web went out of commission and we were sobbing into our Weetabix like for 8 or 9 months until the site came up? That's why I keep those links in my browser. And I still have links in my browser. So if there was a website that was put out by Genealogy Society in 1995 or 1996 on GeoCities, or what was another one that they used? Like AOL.com or whatever, you can copy and paste that old link into the Wayback Machine, and it will show you a snapshot of that page. So when people started kind of getting on board with this newfangled internet thing, those societies or organizations might have migrated to another platform. They may have lost the username or password, which happens to a lot of organizations, is that, oh, so-and-so was in charge of the website, but they moved or they died or they hate us now, so they're not going to give us the username and password, and they can't recover it. So they just let they stopped paying for the site, and the site went defunct. So, but now you can go back and get a snapshot and go see the information that's on that page. That's a fabulous thing to have. So the Wayback Machine is something that I want you guys to use. Now we're going to transition really quickly because we've got about 10 minutes left. So we're going to transition to the Internet Archive page itself. There we go. Is everybody okay with this? Everybody see that I'm already logged in to my beautiful, beautiful, beautiful page. Everybody following along at home, online, and in the classroom. Perfect. You guys are excellent students. I'm letting you know that ahead of time. So here we are on our page. We can either search up here or we can search here. I'm simply going to type in genealogy. Type in genealogy, press the enter button, and here's the page of the things that I can look at. Notice there's a genealogy lock-in from the city of Waco with 8 views, but that's not exactly what we're looking for. We're looking for this genealogy area here that has the 143 items. So it's fairly straightforward so far? Perfect. Here we are. So we can look for collection, we can look for title, we can look for views. I like looking at titles. Oops, let's go back there. So they're looking by collection. I don't want collection, but I guess they've changed this since I saw this yesterday. So these are some of the items that people have. So those passengers, old passenger and crew lists, 7,000 items, and there was a lot of census records, a lot of the old census microfilm that you used to have to go through and make indexes for. You can still go see them on the National Archives website, but if you need a secondary source to consult for those census records, you can get the microfilms here. The Reclaim the Records collection and all of these other items. So this is sorted by views, but I really don't like how this was looking like because it didn't look like anything that I looked like this morning. So I'm simply going to search by, instead of views, I'm going to search by, it hates me, views, not date published, date archived. So I want to see just the brand new stuff. I don't want to see anything from, nothing from the most seen items. I want to see the stuff that's been viewed, that's been brand new added, so the date archived. There's date published, date archived, and date reviewed. So these items were all uploaded today. Lost and Found, a family memoir. A manual of the Second Congregational Church of Berlin, Connecticut. And they have multiples. 1892 and 1843. This is from 1843 as a covenant of the First Church of Hartford, Connecticut. Wow. Nice. Why do we rely on things like these church records, which is really, really important, in church directories? So if you have Irish ancestors, and I always like to pull this out because in Downers Grove, I'm going to go see them next month and talk to them about this, that these church directories are very, very important. Because if you can narrow down the church and where you might have just been saying Ireland or whatever have you, it helps you pinpoint an arrival year. And they also sometimes have nice little biographies about the people who are in the church. So that helps you find a place location, a townland, a county, a geographic area in Ireland to help you with your research. Here's from the Oddfellows, and I think it's Coutts, Illinois. So anybody in the Oddfellows? Or the International Order of Woodmen. So this is their book of attendance. So their secretary's cash book. Who's paying their dues? Who's not paying their dues? Who's been in attendance? Who hasn't been in attendance? And the small notes from the meeting. All of those are available to you for free. Yes.
Are you going to be showing us how to put one of these into your favorites?
Oh, I absolutely can. Absolutely. That's not a big deal. So let's pick one. Let's pick one, kids. Everybody want a school yearbook from 1962? Sure. Yeah, the International Oddfellows here's some more New York State marriage indexes. Right. So if I want to add something to, let's say I want this one, the New York State Marriage Index for 1961. So let's say I want this one. Yeah, it's not like what I had. You have the option here of going and just pressing the little star right here. And it's added to my favorites. It's just as simple as that. Nothing crazy. That's it. It's one favorite. And I also can download it, EPUB, Kindle, whatever I want. I can download it as a PDF. It'll download it right away, save it to my computer. The whole file's saved.
No way.
Yeah, look at it. It's going, this is a really big file, so I probably shouldn't download it because it's a library computer. But it's probably going to do its thing. I'll just delete it when we're done with it. But as it sits, it's able to do it. So when I'm ready to go backward, I can just go backward, and here it is. But the other thing I really like, too, is that when you have things like share, I can share it on Twitter, Facebook, Google+, Tumblr, Pinterest, email. What if you're working with somebody collaboratively, like my cousins who I work with Genealogy collaboratively? I don't have to go into my email to send it. I can just send it right from here. Great, good stuff. Especially the Pinterest. Ooh, love Pinterest. I made the best, and I use it for cooking. I will not debate that, man. I have become a gourmand, a Pinterest gourmand, and the amount of time that's taken. All right, so here's an example of toward a genealogy of individualism. Like I said, it has genealogy in the phrase. Is it a real genealogy book, the type of book that genealogists would use to their research? No, but it still ends up in the genealogy category, just like the genealogy of peach trees. I don't have any control. But let's take a look. Let's take a look at something. Let's take a look and see what we can find. So we're looking inside a collection. Anybody have a specific location that you're looking for? Because that's one of our strategies, is to either look by subject, so things like Quakers or Shakers or whatever have you. We can look by a family genealogy and go through family genealogies, but we can also look for places or specific things for a certain place. So does anybody have a certain county that they're looking for?
Macomb County?
You're going to have M-A-L-C-O-M-B? Yep. Okay. We just type in Macomb into the little area. Can everybody see this all right? Do we need to make this a little bit bigger for everybody? Is that a little better? Yeah, a lot better?
I think it's spelled wrong.
I can't spell. Help me.
It's M-A-C-O-M-B.
Really? M-A-C-O-M-B? I hope so, because I can't spell. I'm relying on you. You're driving the car. All right, so here we go. So here's some rural directories. The sequel, class of 1907. Ooh, you got a 1907 class yearbook. So a bunch of federal censuses. There's a James Jones family record, so that's a family genealogy that's sent from Macomb County. A lot of censuses, and you'll find a lot of those census reels that are in here, which is nothing, unfortunately, that you can do too much about. And you can go through this and say, I don't want to see, I'm looking for something for a specific time period, or I'm looking by something for a specific author, because sometimes your searches will just be nothing but giant swaths of census records. But in the instance, they have two, just looking at the top of the page, by date archived, or I can look by date published or date viewed. I can also look by views. So I am able to see that this is by views. These are the items that are popular by view. So Macomber.
I saw something that might be beneficial.
Sure, what is it?
A farm journal,
Farm journal.
because my relatives own a lot of farm.
Okay, let's see. For some reason, or the rural directory. Oh, the farm journal. Okay, I'm sorry. There it is. So here's the farm journal. This is from 1916. Does that help? Mm-hmm. Perfect. Beautiful. Mm-hmm. So we can go into it. Remember that we have the ability to make it a little bit so we can toggle into a full screen. You have the ability to zoom in so you can see right into its eyes here with a complete roadmap to the county. Now that's got to be a little bit helpful. We can read this book aloud if we really want to. But we can also see it, and this is where I find it very convenient. Right now it's at a 2-page view. It automatically defaults to that. We can make it a single-page view, or we can look at a thumbnail view, so we get to see all of the pages in here. It's very, very nice. So the modern banking, I could have said model baking service, and I'm like, no, it's banking service, Deborah. But they even have pictures.
That's awesome.
Look at that, they got cows. Click on it, look at those little cows. Look at them. Look at them. Poor little cows. Men in straw hats with little cows. Aren't they cute? Purebloods. Did we just get into, like, where's Harry Potter? Like, Harry Potter? No? Okay. It's a muggle. It's a muggle. No mudbloods here. Okay. So as it sits, that you can search through this directory as well, and that's what we get up here, so we can search inside of it. So if I was looking for, what's the surname?
Wiegand,
How do I spell it?
W-I-E-G-A-N-D.
Okay, see what we get. So it's going to go through, and hopefully if it's searchable, we get one page. What's nice about it too is that when we get our search result down here at the bottom, so we get a blue dot precisely where it is, and then we get this nice little preview of the words that are on the page. So that has saved you time by going to this little preview down here, especially if you have multiple, like a surname like Smith, Jones, Murphy, you know. I can click on those. Is it Lawrence? Is it Tommy? Is it Michael? Is it James? Is it Janice? You know, whatever is it. And I have a Lawrence, a Philippa, and I can click on that to the page. Oops, come on, there we go. If I go back to my single page and click on it, so it also highlights the items that I'm looking for. Yeah, any of those yours? Yeah! Yay! Good job, kids. So it's nice. It's a really great resource because now what can I do with this page if I really wanted to? Well, what can I do down here at the bottom? I can share it. Oopsie. I can share it. I can send it off to my relatives. I can screenshot it. I don't have to worry. I can save it and put it to my Ancestry page. You know, I can do a lot of things with it. And I'm not limited to anything that would be slightly crazy or slightly unreal. I can toggle back to a full screen or toggle back to that screen, and that's where I can share it. So am I going to share it on Facebook, Twitter, whatever have you, right from that page? Isn't it awesome? It's very cool. I didn't, and just for the people at home and for the people in the audience, no, Diane is not a plant. She is not my Houdini wife who I'm putting out in the audience with a secret code. We're just really, really fortunate that we found this. I've done this lecture at a couple different libraries where like nobody's able to give me anything, and it's been slightly awkward. But I'm glad today, while I'm on camera, it actually worked. But that's what you got. So same thing with this one. We get to we can add it to my favorites. So just press the button and it's favorited. And what's really, really nice is I can still download it, do all the things I want to do with it. It tells me, again, where it's from. So we have to thank the people at the Allen County Public Library Genealogy Center for making this available to us. And then what's really, really nice up here as well, if I go up to my name, Dude with a K, yes, that's my nickname, I can go to the My Favorites area, and guess what's there? All the things that I have saved. Nice. Nice. Oh, yes. Complete works of William Shakespeare, some Civil War diaries, and The Thief of Baghdad, starring Douglas Fairbanks, which I highly advocate that you will see where Disney ripped off all their amazing ideas for Aladdin. So, as it sits, that's one way that we can go through it. Now, another thing that I did want to point out when we're using this page is that you do have the option to edit your own personal account. So whether it's your favorites, you can remove items. They're just as easy as pressing remove items, and they give you no choice but a big giant red cannot miss threatening button that you can use to erase anything that's on your page, which is nice. But you also have the option of sharing this favorites list. Why is that important to share your favorites list? Anybody? If you get people to help you, but also you don't have to go through and cut and paste every single link to every single item that you had. You just put it in there, put it in your My Favorites, just send the link to a friend, and they can go through all the items that they want to their heart's content and add it to their favorites page. So it's a way to share information without, as my younger brother would say, work smarter, not harder. This site has it. So a couple more things. We can go back if we really, really, really wanted to, which I think I shall. We'll go back to that nice little genealogy area. So a couple things. I know people had a question about the family histories, or family genealogies. So typing in family genealogy and waiting for magic Mr. Internet to work his magic here, his or her. So these are the items that are, remember, this is by date published, so these are the items that were brand new or just came out. So there are items, remember there's the Bigelow family, so there's another book that you can actually borrow from them. The Sparrow family, Captain Jack's probably in there. The Hughes family, the Misters family, a couple of different things that have come through here. You do, again, have the date published or date archived. To see the brand new items that have come out, you have the option of putting on date archived, and then here's all of the family genealogies that have been updated, and a bunch of these at the top were published. There's one that was today, and then a bunch more from the 11th, 12th, 5th of February, so you get to see what those are. Don't judge a book by its cover. Just take a look at the title, click on it, see if it's something you like, search for it, do it. One more thing for the New York City people. If you're going through that really, really lovely collection of birth, marriage, death indexes for Reclaim the Records. Reclaim the Records is, they have everything that they've uploaded online, which is about 1,200 items, soon to be 13. So they have made it convenient. You can favorite the whole collection by just pressing favorite, so you can make the whole collection a favorite. It's another thing I like to do, or share it. They will tell you how many items are in this particular collection. If you guys really wanted to see, I was telling you about that really bad film, right? You guys really want to see the film? So the New York State Death Index is by year. So you don't search all of them and at one time. You had to go year by year by year by year. If Ancestry, and that's a whole nother thing which I'll tell you off camera about how that sort of worked out. But they had there was some very, very interesting things that happened to that. When I'm in a collection, I can type in 1943. I'll just use that. And so it does allow you, if you're trying to get something that has 300 and some odd items, you can get down to just 1943, brings up the results. That's better than scrolling through page after page after page after page of results. This is what the fiche looks like. Oh, yeah. 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 Roll that beautiful bean footage. Yeah. Yeah. That's what I drove 14 and a half hours for? Yeah. Now the earlier stuff, the stuff from 1881, 1882, beautiful. I mean, really great stuff. 30s, 1939, 1920, no problem. Remember, New York State doesn't start keeping vital records until 1916. Oh, Lord. So that was fun. But when I got there, everything from 1940 to about 1944, 45 all looks like this. All of it. And apart from the people who actually were really good enough to go in and go over the fiche with a pen or a marker or something, they're the only ones you can see with any legibility. And it is a Soundex index, so mine was Wayland. And luckily, my ancestor, the Waylands, there were not a lot of W's that died in 1943. And actually, I had to go through the fiche, and I paired it using this. So if you are trying to find a death year for an ancestor who you're in the situation where, like, you know that they're probably dying within, like, a certain period, I went through city directories. I went through this free city directories on Internet Archive or through another website, narrowed down, they show up in the city directory 1941, 1942, 1943, but not 1944. So we have a couple options. They could have been in the city directory by mistake in 1944, or they could have died in 1943 and didn't show up, or they could have died in 1942, but then they showed up in the next year. But you've at least gotten it down to 3 years, like a 3-year time period. So when you go through those, you're able to say, okay, it's 42, 43, or 44. And if we're going through fiche, we're just going to go to that year, grab the Soundex, go to that page that we need, because Wayland, there's really no misspelling Wayland. It's pretty straightforward. And look for everybody under that Soundex and see what we can find. There was nothing under 42. There's nothing under 44, but there was one for 43 because it was miscatalogued or it was misfiled. But I found it, and I was able to see Wayland, and then Emma, and then this looked like that. There was all the rest of the codes. Nothing else was legible. Thank you, New York State, for taking 3 of my $25 death certificate requests, pocketing the money, and giving me absolutely nothing in return. Thank you. Which is why I just ended up calling the cemetery, and the lady took a picture of the headstone for me, and that's just what I've had to use. But I was trying to find a mother's maiden name. Mother's maiden name for a German immigrant. So I ended up getting, actually, but using these records on Internet Archive, I found the actual woman herself. I said, well, it says she's got a death listing for 1902, because they were optional. They were not mandatory. And I thought, oh, what's really going to be on a 1902 death record from New York State? Oh, God, this is going to suck. You know, here's my $15, sure. Had her mother's name and her mother's maiden name on it. So I was like, yes, yes, yes. So happy. Died in an old person's German home. Dope. I don't really have a place of birth, but that's okay. We're working on it. But I actually getting the person herself as opposed to getting what somebody from her daughter's family is going to say. I'm still at the mercy of whatever the nice nurse at the old folks home says. But it's gotten me that much closer to something that I needed, and it surprised me. These records will surprise you. You think you know what records are available for your area, and maybe you do and maybe you don't. But don't leave any stone unturned, and just go to see what's on Internet Archive. So I've taken you a little bit past your time, so thank you for your patience and listening to me wallop along like a little giddy, excited child. Are there any questions before we sign out? Any questions? Any questions? Did I at least amuse you a little bit? Yes. Perfect. Am I an adequate replacement for Tina Baird? Perfect. So if for some insane reason that I have another speaker who unfortunately can't make the next program, my fallback will be Pinterest for genealogy. So you guys will already know that in advance. If you're not already on our Facebook page, please join our Facebook page so you guys can see the events and things that are coming up. In the back are the handouts that have not only the handout for tonight, and for our friends who are watching online, the handout is available in a link underneath this video, so that's available for you as well. But please sign up for our Genealogy Day that is coming up on March 30th. Yes, it's a little bit earlier than May, but it's the day I could get the room. So that's a free day. The lecture topic this year will be DNA Uncensored. Please enjoy. You can watch from home for free. You can come in person and enjoy a full awesome day with door prizes. There will be awesome, awesome door prizes. So thank you guys so much for coming out tonight. Thank you for my wonderful audience in person and online. And if you guys have any questions, get a hold of me. Happy to answer them. So thank you so much and have a really great evening. Thank you.